Kathy Engelbert said Caitlin Clark to be grateful to be in the lead. Then came the Olympics snub, then the injuries, and now Clark's comeback announcement just flipped the script. What started as a promising rookie season is turned into a gritty survival story. Ankle damage, growing trauma, and enough bruises to raise serious questions about player safety. Clark spent weeks off the court nursing injuries that weren't just painful, they were symbolic. The body shots she took weren't random, they were warnings. The hits from veterans, the blind eyes from referees, the silence from the league office. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. In the middle of all of it was Engelberg dodging accountability, while the face of or league limp to the bench. This week's announcement, Clark's for return, didn't send fans into a frenzy. It signaled an most controversial figure in women's basketball isn't backing down. She returned with a clear mind, a healthier body, and a lot more to prove. Her time off the court wasn't wasted. She studied film, deepened her chemistry with teammates, and reshape her leadership style. She's no longer does a rookie for Nam. He's a calculated, composed figure ready to take back control. But how long will that last? Injuries like the one Clark suffered don't just disappear. Groin injuries linger. Ankles can flare up at any moment. And when you add in the aggressive, unchecked physicality she's been facing all season with barely a whisper of new fish jewels, the risk of re-entry is impossible to ignore. This comeback might be the star's second act, or might be a countdown to something worse, because reality is Clark's body is already taken more punishment in a few months than most rookies take in a year, and no one, not the coaches, not Engelberg, not the refs, has done anything to stop it. The officiating crisis remains, the league's tone-deaf leadership remains, and veteran players still act like Clark is some kind of intruder instead engine keeping the league's global attention alive. If Clark breaks again, literally or mentally, the consequences want to fall on her. They'll fall on the system that failed to adjust. Her injuries may have healed, but the league's damage control has, and of the next it sidelines, or for longer, or worse, take her out entirely. The fallout will be catastrophic. So this announcement isn't just a return, it's a pressure point. It's the beginning of a bigger test for Clark's body, for league's integrity, and for the future of women's basketball. There's been a shift, a pause, and the noise moment where everyone from fans, media, to the league itself collectively held their breath. And then came the announcement, the one we all knew was coming but weren't sure we were ready to hear. Caitlin Clark is stepping back, where there's an arrest the season for limit return or for a long-term recovery plan. The message is loud and clear. The day everyone be his biggest stars no longer bulletproof, and the weight she's carried all year has finally come crashing down. And who can blame her? This rookie season has been nothing short of relentless, a mix of record-breaking highs and brutal body-breaking lows. From the second Clark was drafted, the expectations were absurd. Not just perform, but to save the league. She wasn't supposed to be a player, she was expected to be a phenomenon, a unifier, a franchise saver. And while she delivered in viewership, ticket sales, and global attention, the cost, it's been staggering. Clark entered the WNBA as the most decorated college player in modern history. She was instantly targeted on the court, in the media, and by veterans who saw as more headline and teammate. But instead of letting that break her, she played through it. And then she got hurt. Ankle injuries, growing strains. These aren't minor setbacks, these are injuries and impact movement, really. Them and explosiveness, the very qualities that make Clark well Clark. For a player relies on off the dribble shooting, fast cut, and floor vision. Those injuries are more than inconvenient, they're career defining. She pushed through them, but anyone watching closely saw the difference. Less lived on her shot, slower defensive rotations, visible wins after hard fouls, and those vows, they kept coming. Aggressive hits, borderline flag and contact, and noticeable lag protection from officials became the norm. Fans were outraged, analysts called it out, the league said nothing. Until now, this announcement, though not fully detailed, signals something bigger than just Clark's health status. It's a reckoning, a line in the sand, a sign that even the WNBA can no longer pretend everything is fine, because the truth is they failed her. They failed to protect her from repeat good physical abuse. They failed to speak up when it was clear she was being unfairly targeted, and failed to recognize that asking a 22-year-old rookie to carry the weight an entire league while battling injuries, criticism, and locker room tension was a recipe for burnout. Clergy Olympic snub only poured salt on the wound. She was left off the Team USA roster despite being league's top draw, is most talked about name and statistically outperforming some the very players who made the cut. It was a decision that had less to do with merit and more to do with near to control, a quiet punishment disguised as development, and once again Clark stayed silent. No public complaint, no messy interview, just more effort, more minutes, more pressure. But now that pressure is caught up to her, so what does this announcement really mean for Clark, for her future, for the league? It means we are staring down reality that his rookie season does non-stop whirlwind. The highs and injuries might not be sustainable. The groin issue alone is a red flag that an injury they can linger for months, even years, if not treated carefully, and playing through it only increases the risk of long-term damage. This isn't a sore wrist or a twisted ankle, it's the kind of injury they can reshape a career, if not how. No, properly. If she chooses to shut it down for the rest of season, it might be the smartest move, but would also be a brutal indictment of how the WNBA has handled his most valuable player. Because let's be clear, Clark didn't get hurt in a vacuum. She got hurt in a system that was too slow to adapt to her arrival. That rift used the call fouls that turned a blind eye to her being slammed to floor, then fined finer teammates for speaking out, and now that system may have caused a significant chunk of her rookie year. The damage isn't just physical, it's psychological. Clark has admitted feeling isolated. She's hinted at emotional toll, non-stop pressure, the lack of support, and the unfair criticism, all while healing, and silence took a toll on her mental health. That's not weakness, that's human. And yet during a time on the bench, Clark do what leaders do. She watched, she listened, she learned, she studied her teammates, adapted to their styles, and found her voice not just as a scorer, but as a leader. Her time off the court was a wasted, it became her transformation. That's the part people don't see while fans bail. Her stat lines and media debated her toughness. Clock was growing, she wasn't soaking, she was evolving. She's gone from being a new kid with a target on her back to being a voice in the locker room that players trust. That kind of growth, that's how legends are made. But even legends need time. And now she's finally taking it. This could be the moment that redefines not just Caitlin Clark's career, but the WNBA culture. Because of this announcement is followed by nothing else. No fishing reform, no medical transparency, no player protection policy. Then the message to be loud, the league learned nothing. But if it sparked real change, then maybe, just maybe, Clark's tougher season will end up being her most impactful. Because her influence isn't just felt in box scores, it's felt in TV ratings, jersey sales, international headlines, and locker room conversations. Caitlin Clark has already grown league more in 1 year than most commissioners have in a decade, and yet we're left wondering, what could she have accomplished if she'd been protected? That's the heartbreak of his whole saga. Not that she got hurt, but that it was so predictable and so preventable. So what happens next? Best case and Ariel Clark returns healthy and re-energized. The league implements real protections. Officials are held accountable. Players who target others are disciplined. And the culture finally shift away from silence and towards support. Worst case, Clark's injuries become chronic. She's never quite the same physically. The league loses its brightest star to exhaustion, injury, or worse, disillusionment. Because while Clark has a tool to be a legend, even legends need time to heal. This announcement is her first step in taking their time, and if the league's smart, it will see this not as a PR nightmare, but as a second chance. Because Caitlin Clark gave everything she had. This league, the least they can do now is give it the space to recover and build a system that ensures the next Caitlin won't have to go through the same things. So let's ask a real questions. Will the WNBA finally step up and protect its stars? Will fans keep tuning in if they see town being wasted? And most importantly, will Clark come back stronger, or will the season go down as a warning, not a milestone? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the league is done enough to support Clark? Should she shut it down for good this season and focus on recovery? And what changes need to happen before she comes back? Hit the subscribe button, because as always, we'll be here for every injury update, every league move, and every second of the Caitlin Clark story. And let's be honest, this is just getting started. Because while announcing confirms what many feared, that Caitlin Clark's body can't keep absorbing hits, the fouls, the pressure without real consequence, it also raises the bigger question: league, has dared answer, how do we let it get this far? And no, this isn't just about one injury, this is about a pattern, mismanagement, silence, and thinly veiled hostility for within a lead that claimed to be ready for his breakout moment, but clearly wasn't ready for Caitlin Clark. Because the WNBA wasn't blindsided, they saw the storm coming, they watched the college numbers, they heard the TV execs, they knew what she represented, a seismic shift in attention, power, and marketability. But instead of meeting that moment with protection, infrastructure, and vision, they responded with resistance. They let veteran resentment grow unchecked. They treated Clark's arrival like an inconvenience instead of a blessing. And when she became the most foul, most scrutinized, and most sidelined player in the league, or for a few months, they still said nothing. So this announcement, this pause or reevaluation, or whatever sanitized PR term the one attached to it isn't as a medical update. It's the most glaring signal yet that the system broke her before could benefit from her. And let's talk about that system left. Talk about the fact that officials let things go that never should have been ignored. Let's talk about a groin injury, a slow developing high-risk issue that only worsened with constant pressure and poor recovery time, the kind of injury that when paired with ankle instability and daily meaty obligations becomes a ticking time bomb. And it finally went off. But here's where it gets worse. This didn't just cost Clark, it costs the league. Every time she lived off the court, another casual fan tuned out. Every time she took a hard foul with no whistle, another new viewer asked, why is this allowed? Every time the league said nothing, did nothing, changed nothing to shine, we're off to a little more. And now the WNBA is dangerously close to fumbling its most important asset. And you can't blame the injuries alone. Athletes get hurt, his part the game. But this wasn't his contact or bad luck, this was the stem. MC neglect, this was linear, get hit again and again with no real protection. This is allowing media and league insiders the craft narratives about her being overhyped or entitled while she played through pain and carried entire weight a rebranding league on her back. And it's not just fans who noticed, other players did too. Do a veteran, 2 leagues approved faces, the response would have been very different. The outrage would have been louder, the protection faster, the tone completely shifted. But with Clark, it was treated like initiation. And that's the cultural rod at the heart of the WNBA, a current crisis, this idea. You have to earn protection, that you're not allowed to demand fair treatment until you've paid your dues, that star power, marketability, and generational talent mean nothing if you haven't been blooded in the system long enough to be accepted by the inner circle. That mindset, it doesn't just kill careers, it kills leagues. And Caitlin Clark's announcement, what a temporary or season ending, is the first real consequence of that mindset. But it won't be the last, because what is the next generation star think when they see this? What do top college recruits take away from Clark's story? That breaking records, boosting ratings, and being the most talked about athlete in the sport still isn't enough to earn safety. What's sponsored? Go your car. Investing in a league that won't even protect his most profitable player from unnecessary harm. And if you're Caitlin Clark right now looking at the path ahead, where you suppose to think, because there's no sugarcoating it, groin injuries are serious, they linger, they affect mobility, they make even basic humans risky. And for a player who depends on footwork, quick changes of direction, and full-body torque tissue from 30 feet out, that kind of injury could permanently change the way she plays. It could cost 3 a year, it could cost her a prime end of his not managed perfectly, it could cause or everything. So yes, this announcement had to be made, but the fact that it had to happen at all should shake the WNBA to its core. Because the issue isn't just that Caitlin Clark is hurt, is that she got hurt this way this early, and the people who should have protected her didn't act until it's too late. They didn't step in when she was being flattened by veterans. They didn't change the officiating protocols. They didn't publicly back her. When the Olympics snub fueled 1,000 headlines, they let her twist in the window while cashing checks or prisons brought in. And now that her body is finally said enough, now finally they're reviewing policies. Now they want to talk about safety, recovery, and athlete support. It's too late for that. The damage is done. The story is already written. The most promising rookie in league history was mismanaged to the point of collapse. But here's the thing, Clark isn't done, far from it. Because if there's one constant in his entire storm, it's as she always find a way to turn pain to purpose. She did it after being excluded from Team USA. She did it when the physical abuse on court became part of the weekly highlight reel. And now she'll do it again from the sidelines, from recovery, from whatever space she needs to get right. Sure, yeah. Use this time not just to heal, but to rebuild. And when she comes back, it won't just be about proving she's still the player people fell in love with. It'll be about demanding that the league finally live up to the standard she set. Because his version of Clark, she's not just the shooter, not just a passer, not just a ratings boost. She's the future of the WNBA, and she's earned the right to expect more. So in that jersey goes back on, if it goes back on, it'll be with a different mindset, one that doesn't accept scraps, one that doesn't wait for league approval, one that knows her worth, her impact, and her power. And if the WNBA wants to still be stay, and when she returns, they better start preparing now, because he's coming back smarter, sharper, and less tolerant the dysfunction that nearly broke her. That's what this announcement really represents, not the end of season, but the start of a reckoning, because now the league has to deal with Sunday and has never truly faced before the fallout of Lou. Using the player try to center everything around without ever giving her a real foundation stand on. Caitlin Clark wasn't just another number one pick. She wasn't just a hotshot rookie. She was a lifeline, the growth engine, the viral moment. Every single week she is bringing fans. She brought in a new era and a WNBA let that era limp off the court alone, injured and silenced. Let's be clear, this isn't just about a medical chart, it's about momentum, and Clark was a momentum. She filled arenas on a road city that never sold out a WNBA game before. We are seeing record crowds. Her highlights were leading national broadcast clips of or logo threes and fiery competitiveness. We are reaching international audiences. She wasn't just putting women's basketball on a map, she was carving her name into it. And now she's benched, not because of a freak accident, not because of a freak opponent, but because the system, or take hit after hit after hit physically and emotionally until her body said enough. That's what makes this so damning, not just that she's injured, but why she's injured. No, and stepped in one, a foul started stocking up. No one took action when the headline shifted from rookie for non to why is she being tardy. Did, and when fans and players raise alarm bells, they got vague league statements and fines, not protection, not clarity, just silence and punishment. And now, in a twisted bee of irony, the league has finally given her what she deserved from start. Rest, but it wasn't proactive. It was reactive, forced too little too late. And what happens when you force a generational talent to the edge? You get a league scrambling to pick up the pieces of his own negligence. You get media narrative spiraling. You get fans wondering if they're watching history or the squandering of it. Because let's talk, long-term groin injuries aren't something you just stretch out and ice. They linger. They affect every pivot, every jump stop, every push-off. They change players' mechanics. And if you rush back, you don't just risk Rangers, you risk transformation and alteration to how you move, play, compete. And with the way Clark plays, with pace, with agility, with our high octane for him again, a lost mobility is a serious concern. A half step slower off the screen and clean look from 30 feet becomes contested shot, a hesitation to dry. Even floor collapses around her. That's not minor, that's career-altering. So when she stepped back, if she chooses to step back for the rest of season, is not weakness, it's strategy, it's control, it's reclaiming her narrative in a season that tried to it away. And that's where this could actually market powers shift, because Caitlin Clark might be injured, but she's not gone. And while she recovers physically, she has time to think the plan, to decide whether the WNBA is right vehicle for future, or just the first chapter of a much bigger story. Because let's not forget, other leagues are watching, are watching, fans are watching. If Clark returned to the same fire, but demands more protection, more transparency, more say, who's gonna tell her no? The league already saw what happens when she's non-court. The energy dips, the viewership flattens, the story loses its center. So the real announcement might not as be that Clark's sitting out, it might be that she now holds power. No more silence, suffering, no more been the league's golden ticket without being a priority. If she's gonna carry the WNBA better building infrastructure to support her, or she'll go also.